Hello everyone, welcome to Barrier Breach, a series where we go out of bounds in some of our favorite indie horror games. Today we are diving into Bloodwash, a low poly horror game created by developer Jordan King, and it's about time we explored this one. This is my personal favorite game to come from Torchstar, and I'm surprised it took me this long to realize that this still needs to be on Barrier Breach. Also, shout out to all the artists in my Discord server who make incredible art, link in the description or my bio if you want to join. Anyways, on to the video. Bloodwash's menu screen is pretty simple, but it gets the job done. I think having something small like this is actually perfect for a menu screen since it really makes it feel so much more immersive. I know we've seen other games like Night of the Consumers, which takes this concept and ramps it up by a million with a very large and detailed environment, but it really doesn't have to be that grand. These spinning laundry machines with blood leaking out from the inside is really all you need to set the vibe for the rest of the game. Even though it's very small, it's still very cool, and taking the camera behind the scenes and exploring the menu screens in these horror games is always my favorite thing to do in Barrier Breach. The first playable room that you spawn into is of course your apartment. First, I wanted to show you that these doors actually lead to another room even though you never see it. Apart from that, everything is pretty much standard here. The apartment is left dirty and trashed from Liam, the alcoholic boyfriend of our main character Sarah, and although I'm sure that the pizzas were good, cleaning up after yourself would have been way better. When I took the camera out of the apartment, I was shocked to see that all of the other rooms that we enter are all placed here in this one environment and randomly spread out. I figured at the very least the apartment and hallway could be connected, as are some of the structures in other puppy combo games, but nope. Everything is randomly spread out regardless if they could have been implemented into one another. Next we have the basement area where we first attempt to wash our clothes. After we interact with the broken washing machine, it triggers Hobo Joe to spawn in behind this door, to which he then jump scares you. To this day, I still have no idea what this man was doing all alone in this dark, small, musty room. But if there's one thing I learned in life, you shouldn't question hobos. So Stan spawns in right after you come back from the basement, and it's Stan. What is there to hate? Nah, I'm sorry, the feats is buns, but the cigarettes outside the door too is demon work. Just kidding, Stan. Love you, big bro. Finally, before we head outside, we have the lobby of our apartment complex. And before I show anything, I just wanted to take another look at this graffiti on the wall, because what the f is this? The only other thing worth going over is this junkie who is tweaking in the corner. This guy seems pretty threatening to go close to, but he's pretty harmless, just rambling about nonsense. If you ever catch me outside in public bugging out like this, just put me down. The last stop in this environment is the street outside where we have to wait for the bus. First, I wanted to take another look at this guy outside of our apartment, and this marks the second time we've come across a homeless dude doing this in games published by Torchstar. I don't know what it is about hobos using dumpster fires for heat that this studio loves, but hey, I'm all here for it. This suspicious blue car then pulls up in the other lane and waits there, but there was nothing inside of it. Conveniently, the bus then proceeds to cover the entirety of this blue car, blocking us from looking at it. As you can see, it doesn't go anywhere and just sits there idle. The last cool thing about this section is the interior of the bus, which sits just outside of the street. I wasn't really expecting to see this model here. Creepy red shades guy then spawns in after a while and proceeds to make his way towards us. It doesn't take too long for the creepy man to start looking over at us. He then teleports right next to us and gets all up in our face, which I do not appreciate. This is something you can't really see normally, but moving into this position, you can really see just how cooked this man's back is. I thought my posture was pretty bad, but my goodness, this is just diabolical. Thankfully, we are able to exit the bus in one piece, where we are able to begin the true story of Bloodwash. So we finally make it to the Plaza, which holds a few stores and of course the laundromat. Before we do anything, let me just yoink the fog away, and now it should be a lot easier to look at everything. Just like the previous environment, this one holds all of the other structures that we go into. This is the complete opposite of a game like Rewind or Die, where every single playable area has its own environment, and I just find it interesting how different game developers use different methods and whatever's comfortable to them when making these games. Here's the bus and where it goes once dropping you off. As you can see, the bus just keeps going and clips through this barrier texture, where it then makes its way out of bounds, remaining there idle for the rest of the game. There's nothing really inside of these stores since their interior models are placed somewhere else in this environment. Besides that, this is still a pretty awesome main area, which does feel a lot more barren and liminal when you're down here on the ground. Before I proceed any further and dive into the scripted events, I just wanted to show you all of the different stores and how they look from above since nothing really goes on or happens in them. Here is the appliance store, the pizza store, and of course, Peepaws. Now that we're done going over the different store models, let's actually cover the main interior, which is the Spin Cycle Laundromat, which has us going through a few scripted events and cutscenes. The laundromat is pretty much the same, but there was still some things I found that were pretty interesting. Okay, so first off, I don't know about you guys, but one of the things I wanted to take a look at when using NoClip is who the hell is behind this stall in the bathroom. Through regular gameplay, we are only able to see their feet, and it makes it extremely creepy. Drum roll please. Oh, it's just a mannequin. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest, but this is okay, I guess. This mannequin is actually pretty scary and is also disturbingly tall. I'm not sure if this is supposed to represent the actual Room Ripper or if it's literally just supposed to be a mannequin with a voice recording playing in the back, but still very spooky either way. Right after that, we also have another mannequin doll thingy, and I'm sorry they really didn't have to butcher the cheeks like that. Like, I get having flat cheeks, right? But inverted cheeks is wild, I'm sorry. At some point, you're able to enter the clerk's office area, and yeah, bro's cooked. I really like how he just spawns in from the ceiling right as the player gets near the room. Also, cool blood fountain thingy. Following that, we have the Officer Burton section of the game, where we get to play as a police officer very briefly, and this part too also has some pretty cool cutscenes that I would like to show you all. So, as you probably expected, the income tax store that we enter is placed somewhere within this same environment, and this one gives a lot of backroom vibes. Check out this clock. How about this totally awesome fire extinguisher and water cooler? Something super cool that I found out is that the Room Ripper model is and has been right here stuck in this animation since we got to the plaza. How is she not tired from doing this for an hour straight? Oh wait, she tweaking. Once we get close to her, the lights go off, but don't worry, you know I'm gonna turn it right back on. Before we open this door, the character model for this employee is standing right outside waiting for the door to be opened. Of course, seemingly randomly and out of nowhere, as common within these games, the antagonist then appears out of nowhere and just absolutely eviscerates bro. There was no need to do his neck like that, considering you just went straight through his chest. The next encounter with the Room Ripper is in the vents where she is already placed into position. Finally, before the big boss fight, we have this very epic cutscene of the Room Ripper just going straight to work with Patron, and it's pretty brutal.
Dude, stop, let me go. Dude, stop, let me go.
This last section of the video is the ending area of Bloodwash, which as you can see, again is not too far off from the plaza. First, we have this part where Samantha is attempting to break into the room, but unfortunately there is no model behind it. Next, we enter this boiler room where we come across his body, and right after that we come out the other end of this room. Wait, what? So yeah, pretty small and unimportant fact, but the layout of this actually doesn't make sense. As you can see, we come out through here, which was originally the locked door we were forced to abandon when the Room Ripper was trying to break in. Besides that, we have this quick overhead pan of the layout of this section of the game. The only thing worth looking at is this guy who may or may not be dead, and this pregnant mother who met an unfortunate demise under the hands of Samantha. Also, before we move on to the final part, take a look at this mannequin we come across, which if you remember from earlier, is the exact same asset that was used behind the stall in the woman's bathroom. Nice to see you again. Finally, we make it down to the old West End laundromat, and the entrance to it again just doesn't make any sense. As you can see, the back door of the clerk's office leads down to this final part of the game, which I found to be very bizarre. I understand that these two places are secretly connected, but in game this literally doesn't add up at all. Probably the coolest thing that I discovered is that the Womb Ripper is secretly hidden all the way in the back of this area the moment you enter down here. She's just walking in place and doesn't move until you get close enough, but I still found this so interesting. Another thing that I love about this game is that Samantha actually roams this entire area even when we don't see her, which is something we don't see very often actually. I will admit that having the villain roam around the playable area is pretty common in puppy combo games, but anywhere else, they just spawn in, attack, and despawn. This made this section infinitely more interesting, so enjoy this compilation of the Womb Ripper patrolling around. Once we finally beat her, we are sent into this post-credit environment which sees a doctor performing an autopsy on Samantha. This of course is short-lived, as when the doctor leaves the room, Samantha vanishes only to come back and attack the doctor, leaving her current status unknown. Surprisingly, this hospital morgue area is a separate environment, which makes this the only other environment apart from the menu screen and the plaza. That's going to be all for this episode of Barrier Breach. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, it took me this long to cover Bloodwash since I really didn't think this series would make it this far. This marks our 12th Barrier Breach thus far, with many more on the way such as Christmas Massacre, Day 7, and other indie horror games by different developers. As always, comment down below which game you would like to see here next on Barrier Breach, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care, guys.